All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Crystal Ball Fantasy Sports. Today, we're going to be trying to construct some lineups for Week 1 DFS. I think that DFS is a good space that I want to try and get into just because fantasy is so saturated with so many content creators already, but DFS is one area that isn't getting quite as much exposure as redraft or dynasty keeper league stuff like that. I think part of the reason is that DFS isn't legal to do everywhere. I don't think, just because it's sports betting, and so you need to be living in a state where you can really be doing it. And I'm in Colorado, so DFS is something that I've been getting more into recently. Last year was the first year that I really did it, but I'm going to be trying to get in on it every week during most of the standoff, Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night games. I played on this past weekend with the Bucks and Cowboys game and did pretty well. So I'm going to be kind of going through like basically just the theory of how you construct a good DFS lineup, and we're going to be trying to, get a good lineup together. I've got my main core group of players, but I'm going to be kind of just messing around on DraftKings with their lineup construction. So we'll start the share screen. I've got the over-unders pulled up right now, but I'm going to go into DraftKings. I'm going to try and put my little video square over my my account details, my how much money I have and stuff like that. I think that this should work. Hopefully, we'll see once I actually post the video. But anyway, there's certain things that you have to keep in mind when you're constructing a DFS lineup. Basically, the first thing that you want to do is look at games with high over-unders and try and get on teams that are going to be in, high scoring games. So for me this week, as far as DFS is concerned, there's a few games that I'm intrigued by. The first is the Cardinals and Titans, over-under of 51. The second one is actually Eagles and Falcons. I like this to be a more high scoring game. And I've got a lot of players from this matchup in my lineups. So we're going to be talking about that a lot. And then the Browns versus the Chiefs, which is at an over-under of 53. So I am taking the over in this Eagles-Falcons game, if that's something that interests you guys. But we'll see. That's how I'm predicting it to play out. I think that since Jalen Hurts is such a, force in fantasy, I think that it has the chance to go over 46.5 for sure. So basically, when you're constructing your lineup, you should choose your quarterback from one of those high scoring games. You should take two pass catchers from that quarterback because you're trying to correlate their scoring. So if the quarterback is scoring touchdowns, you're trying to guess which players he's actually throwing his touchdowns to. And basically the theory is that it's easier to, get those things right as opposed to multiple different things. So you're trying to just narrow the odds to be in your favor, basically. And then also you want to choose one pass catcher from the other team to be in your lineup, because if there's got to be some reason why your quarterback and your wide receivers are having to score more points. And so you're trying to get the wide receiver from the other team that is pushing you there, or the pass catcher could be a tight end in the case of like Kelsey or Gronk. As far as running backs are concerned, Al Zeidenfeld, he has what's called 5-box running backs, which are, you want somebody that's playing at home, that has a route to 20 touches, that is favored, that has work in the passing game and inside the 5 carry opportunities. So that's the majority of the running backs that you're looking at. They don't have to click all of those boxes, but you'd like as many as you can. And then you should probably play a receiver in your flex, actually, is what the data has shown. You might think that running back is better there, but receivers actually have a route to a higher ceiling. And so you're trying to get the ceiling of a player is the goal. And then DST, you shouldn't be afraid to actually spend down at DST. A lot of times the person that actually wins the Millie Maker, which is what we're trying to basically do is get first place and as high as we can, goes with a lower price defense. So you don't have to get the top defense. You can spend down there and spend elsewhere at other places because there's so much variance at that position. And you should be trying to get about 2/3 of your lineup be studs and 1/3 be like contrarian plays. So you have to differentiate yourself a little bit. So we're going to start off with the lineup that I'm going with. And if I get more views on these videos, I probably won't give away my lineup. Maybe I will, just because I don't want everybody to have the same one as me. But I'm going to have similar players that other players have. I know that for sure. So I'm going to start off with Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. Like I said, I really like this game. Philly and Atlanta. He's priced lower. It's 6,400. 6,400. I think he's a good price. And let's go ahead and get our receivers that are going to be, in that game as well. So I'm going to go with Devontae Smith, who is at $4,500. And he's one of those players that, he could have a huge, huge ceiling. So we'll start off with Devontae Smith. And you can get value at rookies, especially this week. We'll go over to the tight end because I'm also going to want to try and put in Dallas Goedert. I'm torn between Goedert and Ertz. I think Ertz could actually be an interesting contrarian play this week. So that's our receivers to correlate with Jalen Hurts. And then we're going to be able to spend up and get a player from Atlanta, and that's going to be Calvin Ridley. I think you could also put Kyle Pitts at the tight end instead of Ridley, and then also put in Jalen Reagor at the wide receiver. So let's go to running backs. Basically, the running backs I like this week are Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, James Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and Raheem Mostert. So those are guys that hit a lot of that 5 box. First off, I'm going to take James Robinson. I think he's reasonably priced at 6,400. Obviously, he's on the road, but he's playing Houston. So that should be a good matchup. And then my other one is going to be Antonio Gibson at 5,900. So we're spending down a little bit at running back, and we're going to be able to spend that money elsewhere for our wide receiver. And at wide receiver, there's a lot of value once you go down into even below 4,000. There's players like Jalen Reagor, Marvin Jones Jr., Marquez Callaway. Those are all guys that you can spend down on. Callaway has a difficult matchup going against the Green Bay secondary, but I like Marvin Jones. I think he's a guy that could have a big week this week. He's shown in the past that sometimes he has, I almost double clicked on him, that he has giant games sometimes. So he's going to be the 3rd receiver. You can see we still have 10,500 left. I'm going to save my last flex play to for later to just show you how you can actually spend down a little bit at the defense. Because I'm going to take the Colts. They're 2,300. They are going up against Seattle, but just given the fact that, the Colts are actually a good defense, you can just bet on maybe they get a touchdown. Maybe it's a little bit lower scoring of a game, because doing that will allow us to spend 8,200 on our final position player, who is going to be Tyreek Hill. So we get in on that big, the Chiefs versus Browns high over under game. So this is the lineup that I'm going with this week. I really like it. The only question is if, maybe I would sub out Ertz and spend up a little bit more at receiver or defense, but I like it this way. So we're going to stick with it there. That's the lineup that I'm going with, but we're going to try and fill out another lineup. I haven't really gone super into what's going to happen with other positions, but let's throw in Kyler Murray to start off, because like I said, I want to get in on that Arizona versus Tennessee game. We can correlate Murray with Hopkins, start off there, and then we can correlate, or we can bring it back. I'm going to try and find another Arizona receiver later. Let's start off with Julio Jones as our player from Tennessee. Obviously, we've spent a lot already, so we're going to have to spend down elsewhere. Let's go ahead and throw in some of those other players that I was talking about as values. We can go with Marvin Jones. Running backs, let's spend down again and throw, you know what, actually for the sake of this, let's go with Gibson and Mostert. Mostert, is San Francisco against Detroit. We've got our remaining salary of 12.5. Probably going to have to spend down at defense again. Let's throw in the Colts. Let's start with our tight end, because then we'll be able to figure out how much money we're going to actually be able to spend on our final flex play. And, the tight end is a difficult position. Jared Cook is not a bad choice because he is priced lower. Gerald Everett is another guy that, if you're trying to spend down, is interesting. Kyle Pitts is interesting. Let's throw in Kyle Pitts and see what that's going to give us as our receiver. Starting at 5,800, there's still some good players. Brandon Ayuk is one that kind of jumps off the board, but also we have to think about, I just realized this, we need that second player from Arizona to get into our lineup. Let's see if we can just get Arizona onto here. So there we go. Why is that only Tennessee players I'm getting? Maybe I did something wrong. Oh, I accidentally clicked on Tennessee. Okay, so, Christian Kirk, AJ Green. This is one of the reasons I'm not fully on the Kyler Murray, is that I don't know which player I would like to add as my second receiver yet. Christian Kirk seems like the logical choice. Just, AJ Green could go off, but we've seen Christian Kirk have those ceiling games. I'm not super comfortable with it, but we can put Kirk in, and that means that we still have $1,300 left over. So what we could do is switch out Mostert for James Robinson. Let's see. Let's take out Kyle Pitts for this moment. Oops, and get back to all the receivers, or all the tight ends, that is. Pitts is up there, and so after Kittle and Kelsey, 5,700 is or 4,900 is the next most expensive tight end. So, maybe we're better off having Pitts there. Let's check out who we could substitute instead of, we could throw in AJ Brown, I suppose, instead of Julio Jones. And maybe instead of the Colts, we could play the Broncos. So that's kind of, you just have to mess around with it a little bit and see how the money works. It's good to you can spend your whole salary. You should get as close to spending your whole salary as you can, but it shouldn't be everything for you. So this might be another lineup that I would be interested in, but you can see just like, I wanted to kind of get into the theory of how you construct a DFS lineup. And I like the first one that I put in the most, mainly because of the fact that I don't know who that second guy I want with Murray is, but that's the rule. That's how I do it. Like, you should have 2 pass catchers for that quarterback. I basically do that every time. I might do another video for DFS for the Sunday night matchup or the Monday night matchup, just to show you what the difference between a single game versus this one. We're doing the set of 12, I believe, games. So if I were to do another, I'm not going to do it, but I would start off with Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, and then really spend down everywhere else. Probably I would build Gibson and Mostert as my other players. So that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you all enjoyed, watching, and I'm going to make more DFS videos throughout the season. I really like being able to, kind of start over and treat every weekend as being unique, and it allows you to draft new players every week. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.